All right, friends, so training camp is officially open, and today the Steelers dropped their Hall of Honor class announcement, so it's a good day to be a Steelers fan, honestly. But the real story for me right now is what's happening in that safety room. Jalen Ramsey goes down with a knee injury right as camp gets going, and I figured the Steelers would just wait it out, let the guys already in the room handle it. That's not what happened. They went out and brought in a guy instead, and it's not the name everybody was expecting either. Instead, we got somebody with some real history with a player already on this roster. I'll break down who it is and why it actually makes sense in a minute, but stick with me because I've also got some fresh training camp updates I want to get into with you in this video as well. Hello, Steelers fans. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. So, let me actually get into it. The name is Rayshawn Jenkins, and honestly, for guys who followed this league for a while, you probably remember him from his time in Jacksonville. And yeah, that's actually the connection I was hinting at, because Rayshawn Jenkins and George Pickens had a little bit of a moment, a little bit of beef back when Pickens was still coming up. So it's kind of funny how the league works sometimes, right? Where a guy who had a run-in with one of your players ends up putting on the same jersey a couple years later. But look, from what I'm hearing, things are good between them now. New coaching staff, new year, fresh start, and now he's a Pittsburgh Steeler. Now here's why this move actually happened, and I think it tells you more than the signing itself does. The Steelers lost Jalen Ramsey right at the start of camp to that knee injury, and I don't think this means he's out for the season or anything like that. I want to be clear about that. But I do think it tells you the Steelers are being realistic about where Jalen Ramsey is at with learning a brand new position. Asking a guy to come in, learn safety on the fly, and be your starter early in the season, that's asking a lot, especially with a knee injury now in the mix. So instead of just hoping it works out, they went and got insurance. And that's what Rayshawn Jenkins is here. He's a veteran, he's been a starter in this league for a long time, and now he slots in right there in that room. And I think this is where it gets interesting, because this move quietly closes the door on a couple other storylines that we're building in camp. First one, Jordan Whitehead. There was a lot of buzz around him. He's got a Pittsburgh roots, went to Pitt. People were hoping to see that homecoming story play out. I get why fans wanted that. I wanted that a little bit too, if I'm being honest. But with Rayshawn Jenkins now in the building, I think that door is basically shut. There's just not enough room for both. And then you got the young guys in that safety room, and honestly, I feel for them a little bit here. Sebastian Castro was having himself a nice OTAs in minicamp. Guys were buzzing about him. He looked like a dude that was pushing for real reps. And Robert Spears-Jennings is in that same boat. But when you bring in a proven veteran like Rayshawn Jenkins, it basically tells you the front office isn't ready to hand that job to a young guy yet. I mean, look at the room now. You got Rayshawn Jenkins behind Deshawn Elliot, behind Jaqua Brisker, and behind Darnell Savage. That's a crowded room. And I don't think either Sebastian Castro or Robert Spears-Jennings make this roster unless something changes fast.
There's also a guy that's been getting a lot of run on that side of the ball, Jack Henderson. He's been taking a ton of defensive reps out there in camp, and people were starting to ask, is this a guy to watch? And I still think he's worth keeping an eye on. But with this Rayshawn Jenkins move, I don't think he's suddenly jumping the line either. It just feels like this signing kind of settles a position battle before it even really got going. So yeah, that's the safety room update, and I think it's a bigger move than people are giving it credit for. It's not flashy, it's not some blockbuster trade, but it answers a lot of questions the Steelers were probably losing sleep over. Now, let me shift into what I've been seeing out of camp so far, because there's some names worth talking about here too. One guy that's been standing out through this first week is Brandon Smith. I mean, every camp you look for that one guy who's making people take notice early, and right now, that's him. And it's not just fans noticing it either. From what I understand, Mike McCarthy himself has been vocal about the confidence he's got in Brandon Smith, which when your head coach is out here talking you up this early, that means something. Honestly, that's the kind of early buzz you want to see, because it's easy for a name to get lost in the shuffle during the first week, and this one clearly hasn't. Then you got the whole wide receiver room, and that's a battle I think is going to be fun to track all camp long. You got Germie Bernard trying to take a step forward, and I think this is a big camp for him, honestly, the kind where you either take that next step or you kind of get passed by. Then you got Roman Wilson, who everybody's watching to see if he can finally break through. And look, I think a lot of fans are just hoping he stays healthy and puts together a full camp without any setbacks, because that's really been half the battle for him. And you got Kaleb Johnson putting in work too, and I think he's one of those guys that could quietly climb up the depth chart if he keeps stacking good days out there. It's a crowded room, and I think that's actually a good problem to have, because competition usually brings the best out of guys. And then on the other side of the ball, you got Joey Porter Jr., who I think everybody's keeping tabs on just to see where he's at heading into this season. I mean, after the year he had, I think there's a lot of eyes on him to see if he takes that jump into being a legit lockdown guy. And of course, you can't talk camp without mentioning Aaron Rodgers. His role in that quarterback room, and honestly, just as a leader in that building, it's a storyline that's going to follow this team all camp long. And I think how he handles that locker room presence is going to say a lot about where this offense is headed. I mean, you bring in a guy with that kind of resume, it's not just about what he does throwing the ball. It's about how the young guys around him respond to having him in the room every single day. And honestly, that's something I want to keep an eye on too. Just watching how he carries himself with these younger guys, whether it's in the huddle or just walking between drills, because that stuff matters more than people realize this early in camp. One thing I do find interesting is just the difference in how Mike McCarthy is running this camp compared to what we were used to under Mike Tomlin. Different philosophy, different approach to how practices are structured, and honestly, it's kind of refreshing to see a new voice doing things his own way. It's still early, but I think it's worth watching how that shift plays out as camp rolls along. And honestly, I'm curious to see how the players themselves adjust to it too, because that's a real culture change for a lot of these guys who've only known one way of doing things. And when you got a new voice running the show, little things like practice tempo or how meetings are handled, those things trickle down and shape how guys perform once real football starts. Beyond the safety room and the receiver battle, there's a handful of other position battles I think are worth keeping tabs on as camp rolls forward. And honestly, the next couple weeks are going to tell us a lot more than this first week did. Sometimes it takes pads coming on and live reps stacking up before you really know who's separating themselves. So I wouldn't lock in any final opinions just yet off 1 week of practice, but the early flashes we've already seen definitely give you a good starting point on who to watch closest heading into the preseason. So look, between the safety room getting settled with Rayshawn Jenkins, the receiver battle heating up, and guys like Brandon Smith turning heads early, there's a lot to like about where this team is heading into the season. I'll keep bringing you the updates as camp rolls on, so make sure you're subscribed, and I'll catch you in the next one.